So how do you feel about Phil Foden bottling it at the Euros once again?
I don't know if it's his fault.
I think it is.
I don't think it's his fault. I'm putting all the blame on Gareth Southgate. Maybe because I don't like him.
Every blame is on Gareth Southgate.
I think we have to look at the systems that they play at club level, which is all attacking, all guns out. And when they come to the England sort of setup, it's completely the opposite. So in a way, I do feel like Southgate is to blame.
Southgate's always to blame.
Southgate always to blame.
There we go, guys. We are back again for another fantastic conversation on Friday Night Counter Attack. We're here, we're rocking and we're rolling. We're talking about the top 5 creative midfielders to watch at Euro 2024. I'm taking a backseat, and Sam's going to be hosting today's show.
I am going to be hosting indeed, and we also have Arj next to us on my left. Welcome, Arj.
Thank you very much, Sam.
How are we today, gentlemen?
Very well, good to see you.
Very
both.
good.
I'm going to get straight into the conversation. I want to talk about Jude Bellingham. What are our thoughts on Jude Bellingham so far in the Euros?
So at the time of recording, we're recording straight after the Denmark game, where we drew 1-1. And the fact of the matter is, he was fantastic for Real Madrid playing as an advanced midfielder behind 2 strikers who stretched the play so far. For England, we've had 3 attackers who were subbed off all in one go, Saka, Foden and Kane, because all they kept doing was coming toward the ball. How is Bellingham meant to thrive in a system where there's no runners who can run in behind? Also at the time of recording, we saw Spain dominate Italy yesterday through Williams and Lamine Yamal because they've got runners upon them as well. They've got speed. Di Lorenzo does not know what day it is. That's what Rashford can do, that's what Sterling can do. Both of them are not at the tournament. Anthony Gordon, who's our next best option, has not played a minute at the Euros as well. You can't expect to have the best players playing in their best positions when they can't work with the team that they've got around them. Everyone's doing the same job for England, which is painful to see.
And I think it's a system as well. I mean, I think Jude Bellingham scored around about 13 goals for Real Madrid, and they understand the system. He's a midfielder, but he plays attacking. So
He scored like 23 goals this season.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot the one. Just change the 1 to a 2. It was 23.
He's not watching football in January. Don't worry about it.
But it's a system that England play, and they play so defensive that how can Jude Bellingham play to his best? How can he play to his fullest?
So how do you get the best out of him?
It's the system that they play. Why sit back once they've scored? It's the same with the first game. When did England score?
The Euros final as well.
Yes, exactly. Same. I mean, with the first game. When did England score? Was it within the first?
Around 25 minutes.
25 minutes. So it's not really where the game's really taking place. It's the first 25 minutes. So you haven't really seen the best potential with Jude Bellingham. So once they scored, they all sat back and defended. You can't really see the best with Jude Bellingham in that sense.
Absolutely.
So
do you think we're going all the way then, gents? Or
no.
Good, me neither. I don't think so either. Let's go to Portugal. Let's look at different players because we can talk about England all night, I'm sure. I'm going to look at Bruno Fernandes. So I'll start with you this time, Marge.
Well, firstly, with the shirt I am wearing, I am a big Liverpool supporter. So with Jude Bellingham, I can't get him out of my head. With Bruno Fernandes, with Bruno, it's a love-hate relationship because I don't like him as he is so good for United, and the fact that when he's with Portugal, I feel like he's the main man in midfield who dictates the play, and ultimately it's one of those where you can't really see him have a bad game. He does his job.
Do you think there's room for him in terms of like his ego, him wanting to be the best man, with the likes of Ronaldo in the team still?
I would say that they just work hand in hand with himself and Ronaldo. To be completely honest, I haven't really paid much attention to Portugal on that side. I'm just sort of rooting for England, but Bruno Fernandes, there's nothing much I can really say to him.
What are your thoughts, Sam?
Proud Liverpool fan.
I mean, with Bruno Fernandes, is always going to be the bridesmaid to the bride that is Cristiano Ronaldo at the European Championships. It may be Ronaldo's last European Championships, but when we saw against Czech Republic, they know how to win. They know how to win clean when they're playing good attacking football. And everyone was looking at Roberto Martinez to complain about this crazy system that they're playing with a 3-5-2 formation. But what I really like to see is the fact that Bernardo Silva needs to step up more. Fernandes needs to step up more. What we see of them in the Premier League week in, week out for Manchester City and Man United respectively, we don't see that at Portugal. Is it the manager? Is it Southgate 2.0? They're both ITV presenters once upon a time, Southgate and Roberto Martinez. So they were once there. But for Bruno Fernandes, he is a creative machine. He's got a lot to deal with in this tournament as well. He needs runners around him as well. We've got that with Diogo Dalot, Rafael Leao, And we've got more of them coming off the bench. Pedro Neto was fantastic. Francisco Costa, one of our players to watch for the tournament, he scored the winning goal against the Czech Republic as well. And once you've got an attacking midfielder who's got runners around him and is not very quick about him as well, they can do so much more damage just from one pass, one touch. And we're going to see that again over the tournament as well.
Do you feel like you need to cut players slack in terms of they've played for their club for a whole season and then they've just got to sort of fit in to a complete different system with complete different players, and still the manager's got to figure out how can I sort of play these players to their strength when technically I haven't really sort of selected these players for transfers. These are just sort of the best players from each country or from the country, and I've got to sort of figure out how I can get the best out of all of them.
I mean, I look at it, and that's an interesting debate, because I was thinking about like England and Portugal, like you mentioned, both kind of similar things, where you've got a vast majority of these players are, you know, it's an embarrassment of riches. You know, I'm looking at that again from both perspectives, from both teams, and you're trying to fit square pegs in round holes at times. We've spoken about Bellingham, but you know, you could look at Phil Foden in that. We're playing him out on the left for England.
Phil Foden.
You know, and we're not getting the best out of him. So you look at it from a tactical perspective, and it's got to be the sum of all parts. You know, there's 11 players and 5 subs that you can make as well. So what you've got to look at is what is best for the team. When I think about the Italy team that won the last Euros, that wasn't necessarily the best ever Italy team that you've ever seen in terms of the players. You didn't have a Del Piero, you didn't have a Maldini, you didn't have the Marquisios and Pirlos of old. You know, you didn't have those players, but what they did well is that they worked as a team together well, and it wasn't just look at how many great players we've got, and I look at, going back to the people we've spoken about there, the likes of Bellingham, the likes of Fernandes. How do you get the best out of them when everybody wants to be the star in the team? When Foden wants to be the star next to him, when Saka wants to be the star, when Kane wants to be the star. You know, they said about how England have the best front four potentially in the whole Euros, but they all want to be the man that scores the goal or creates it. So how do you get the best out of them? And for me, sometimes you have to sacrifice something like that. And I'm not saying that you take Harry Kane out, but what I'm saying is, if you look at the previous game where Ollie Watkins came on, he offered us much more going forward than Kane, because he then stretched the play. You know, it made it harder for Denmark to defend because he was more willing to go beyond the defenders into the space, whereas Kane kept taking the space from a creative player such as Jude Bellingham.
Just in relation to Ronaldo as well, who's 39 years old, he still comes to play a bit more as well, but he hangs on the last defender a lot more like he did in that first game against the Czech Republic. So he's always trying to stretch the play, he's always looking for that looping header at the back post, always looking to challenge in the air as well. For me, when you're seeing that with Bruno Fernandes, who can whip a ball in quickly, Bernardo Silva can do the same as well, that's where their creativity will shine. But they know in their group they've got Turkey and they've got Georgia in their group as well. So they're going to have teams that will sit back against them. Normally quite attacking teams, but they sit back against one of the greatest attacking displays of talent that we've seen in the Euros for so many years as well. So on Bruno Fernandes, that's what I'd say about that one as well. We can talk about England all day, by the way, so we'll get on.
We literally will.
Next player, Sam, where we go?
Okay, so this player is one. I'm wearing a Chelsea shirt, so this is a painful one to talk about. But Jamal Musiala, a player that.
Why is it painful, Sam?
Well, because he started his career as a young player at Chelsea.
Nice.
We let his contract run down, didn't renew it, and then he left for a small fee of about £170,000.
That's not normal for Chelsea.
It's not normal at all.
Let's not talk about Chelsea. We're here for the Euros. We're here for the Euros. So, yeah, a player with immense talent has gone on to Bayern Munich and done really, really well for himself, and continues to elevate his stature in the game. So, Arj, let's start with you this time round. What do you think of Jamal Musiala?
I think he really sort of made his name when he played his first game, and all eyes won the Germany and Scotland game, and he really made a name for himself, and people who didn't really know who Musiala was, they do now, especially sort of his footwork, his speed that he plays at. You can see its levels above most teams. So for me, Musiala has so much potential to be one of the greats. It's a shame how he aligned more with Germany as opposed to England.
I'm not upset about that at all.
I feel like
for Germany, we saw him at the Euros where in 2021 at Wembley where he's playing. They played him in some awful formation where you had Werner, Havertz and Müller in the same attack as Musiala at Wembley Stadium, and Musiala barely got to shine. Now we're seeing him in a system where Julian Nagelsmann, the manager, is actually looking to explore building the team around Jamal Musiala. And my question to you, Sam, is if you had to pick one player to build the England team around, who would it be in mind?
Well, again,
for me, it's Harry Kane. It will always be Harry Kane. Get wingers around him, get pace around him. He's the best striker in the world for me at this time. He's scored amazing goals this season for Bayern Munich. Build it around Kane. Forget about Foden, Phil Foden, get out of the team for me. We needed pace from the beginning because that's where England shine. And England have always been upset. They've always upset teams whilst having pace.
I can't agree with you on Kane, and the reason I can't agree with you is because he's coming to the latter stages of his career.
Ages.
Listen, it's a young man's game now. We can see that it's a lot more about athleticism. It's a lot more about technical ability, which Kane obviously has in abundance, and he scores goals for fun. I would look at Jude Bellingham.
Yeah.
I think obviously
Bellingham needs pace too.
I agree, and listen, we're going to need players like Foden around him. We're going to need players like Saka around him. We're going to need players like Ollie Watkins to come on and come through. We're in a transitional period of English football where we're looking at a lot younger players, because we've had tournaments where we didn't quite get to where we thought we would in terms of not winning the Euros or the World Cup. But a player like Bellingham doesn't come around that often. We've had the likes of Gerrard and not used them properly. We've had Gaza, we've had Scholes, we've had Rooney. We haven't used the players in England that we've had the talent around for years now.
Scott Parker starting over Michael Carrick in the Euros.
Not talking about Scott Parker.
Embarrassing.
But that's the point. So we've had managers come and go that have not utilised the generational talent we've had, and we've got another opportunity to have that. Someone like Bellingham who can literally run the midfield on his own. Yeah. And I don't actually think we're seeing the best out of him, to go back to what we started with, mainly because he's probably not playing in the position that we can get the most out of him, and we're very, very much a negative looking side at the minute. But yeah, I'd build it around him. He's got a long time to play. He's already playing for Real Madrid. Look what he's done with his career already, and he's still a baby. So I would be building it around the likes of him, Foden, players like that. But with Southgate in charge, I really don't trust that we're going to get the most out of them. So
all I'm saying is Musiala freed himself from Gareth Southgate, and I'm so happy to see.
But that's the thing. That's the next thing.
And
that's the thing I would say. He would get in the team, but how would we get the best out of him? Because
the thing with Germany, you're seeing Florian Wirtz and you're seeing Jamal Musiala as free wingers who can. Not I'm saying they're free. They're two wingers who are free to roam from different wing to wing. Saka can't do that because it's very right-sided based as well. Yeah. Then you've got Ilkay Gundogan, who's there as a Raumduta. I may have pronounced that incorrectly, forgive my German. Raumduta is basically like what Thomas Müller used to do. He'd always go into the position where it's empty. So he'd always go into the box late, he'd always score a goal. Ilkay Gundogan scoring already at the European Championships. And then you've got a focal point like Kai Havertz up top as well. But Kai Havertz can also work with the attackers moving forward, so he can fill positions in as well. He can play on the wing if he needs to. And it gives these two kids still, 21 years old, Musiala? It's a shine.
Yeah, but what you're saying there, and sorry if you had a point here because I'm going over a little bit, but you're talking about fluidity in structure, in tactics, and you've got that because that's the style of Julian Nagelsmann, who's proven that he can do that at the highest level. With those players, that youthful exuberance to go into the team and be able to do it. And again, part of modern football is that you can't just play one position anymore. You look at the way defending's changed, for example, to change it up a little bit. You're not expected to head the ball and kick it at the top level anymore. You're expected to be able to drive out of the back. I've spoken before about Calafiori for Italy. He drives with the ball, left-footed centre-back stepping in. John Stones for England, which we don't see him do for England, which is one of the talking points the other day.
Too scared.
But for Man City, he will step into that midfield and he's accomplished at it. So this is the thing now. Football's changed, it's more diverse, and I don't think England are changing with it.
It doesn't mean diverse because we've got two brown players. It doesn't mean that.
But it is.
Anything to add to that, Arj?
I mean, going off the back of the sort of system, so you get the most out of Musiala. Going back to England, yes, we spoke about how we can go on about England all day, but we'll make this quick. Why do you feel like Gareth Southgate is playing so defensively when he's not necessarily utilising the attackers that they have?
All I'm going to say is we're moving on from this one because Gareth Southgate is a crap manager. We're moving on to Spain and we're talking about Pedri. Yeah. Luis de la Fuente, he lets Pedri be free.
That's it.
When you're talking about Phil Foden being free, he tried to get the ball from between the defenders and run through. He could have set up Harry Kane yesterday at the time of recording. He could have played him through for a one-on-one versus Kasper Schmeichel, and he didn't. Pedri's getting into the box for chances. He's an attacking creative force. He is dynamic. I've watched him play twice live now. It's absolutely incredible to watch as well. But for me, when you're looking at one of the best young midfielders at the European Championships, you can't not think about Pedri.
Completely agree.
Absolutely fantastic player to watch. And Sam, I want to get your thoughts before we move on to our final player. Pedri, is he top 5 players to watch in the European Championships for you? And if so, why? Because for me, he definitely is, and he's got a point to prove being the next poster boy for Spanish football.
Yeah, listen, he's been around for years already, which is ridiculous considering how young he is. Well, he's not even 22 years old.
Yeah.
You know, so he's a focal point in the Barcelona team. Obviously, they're not as revered as they used to be, but being at such a young age and being a massive player for them, it can only be good for him. And I watched Spain, and I think they're fantastic. They're fluid. The manager has been with them through the age groups, which, you know, there's a bit of uproar when he came in to Spain after Luis Enrique was relieved of his duties because, again, he's not a big name, but the job that he's doing is that he's building a team that cultivates the youth development whilst having players such as Rodri, such as Laporte in defence. Morata, again, people have their gripes about Morata as a player, but his record speaks for itself. But
always turns up for
Spain, doesn't it? So this is the thing. This is how, you know, you build a team, especially at international level when you don't see them all the time. Players like Pedri, like you say, you build teams around them with the right players, i.e. experience, not just at tournament level, but at club level as well, to nurture them. And Pedri is a fantastic player who the likes of Nico Williams, either side of him, and Lamine Yamal are also going to benefit from that.
Yeah, and in terms of their midfield, how so strong it is, he's allowed to be free, he's allowed to be creative, and being creative and sort of being free, you can get the most out of your players rather than being constrained into doing one specific role. So yeah, I feel like the team especially helped him allow that, and he created 6 chances and they've won their last 2 games in the Euros. Well, the last 2 games, they've only played 2 games, but...
So, Arjun, tell me about Pedri. What have you enjoyed about him the most?
So, yeah, I mean, with
also, why
Pedri...
are your eyes watering? Is it hay fever season?
It is hay fever season. It's not about Pedri.
Right.
I'm just getting emotional about how good Pedri is. I'm struggling here.
Proper football talking, honestly.
I'm just getting emotional. Yeah, of course. I'm just getting so emotional about how good Pedri is. And with the system that they play, the midfield is so strong that he's allowed to be free and he's allowed to be creative. And when he has that ability to sort of do as he pleases, he can play to his best ability, and he's created 6 chances so far. They've won their both games, their 2 games that they've played.
You just need to get clinical in front of goal.
Of course, yeah. I'd say that's the next step.
Let's talk about Kevin De Bruyne at Belgium.
Let's not. And that's it, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. I'm joking. Kevin De Bruyne at Belgium has been embarrassing for so many years. When you're watching him play, the focal point of Manchester City's attack has always been Kevin De Bruyne, it's been Rodri, it's been Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, but Kevin De Bruyne has been killing it for his club, but he's also been bottling it for his club as well, not making it into finals, getting subbed off in finals, getting subbed off in title, winning games where he should be really there against Liverpool, he should be there against Manchester United, subbed off in times when he's injured. But then you're seeing what the pressure does to him at national level. The last time I remember Kevin De Bruyne doing something iconic, something genuine for his national team, was in the 2018 World Cup, scoring that banger against Brazil, getting them into the semi-finals against France in Russia, 2018. You saw him at the European Championships in 2021. They were lackluster against Italy. They beat Portugal, which was very good, a great goal from Thorgan Hazard, not Eden Hazard. Sorry, Sam. But Kevin De Bruyne, Manchester City legend, is not going to go down as a Belgian legend because this Belgian golden generation as well. It's not even golden. It's silver generation.
Sam doesn't like that.
I don't, listen, he's a fantastic player, world-class player.
He's also not turned up this tournament as well. Not created so much challenges at the time of recording. He can't bring a team forward with him. He's not got that leadership. He's not got that ownership on him as well, which is embarrassing because you're looking at what he does for Man City. He follows Pep's lead, and Pep is a great man manager, is a great leader, great tactician, but he's lost without him.
Well, follow on from that, Arj.
I can't agree more with what Hamza said.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Let's get your counterpoint then.
Well, listen, I look at it from an individual perspective, like you say, and I completely agree. He doesn't show up when they need him the most.
If you're building an international team, you put De Bruyne in first.
However,
you put De Bruyne in first.
Not now. He's
Exactly.
30 odd years old.
Exactly.
I'm being ageist again, but what I'm looking at is, would you put Lukaku in front of him?
It's not all about Lukaku.
I didn't say it was, but I'm asking you a question.
Lukaku's their all-time top goal scorer.
Okay.
It's great. He's been fantastic, but everyone goes on to Lukaku for the ownership of Belgium when it should be their best player. Who is their best player? Lukaku or
I
Lukaku?
asked a simple question.
I'm happy.
Would you put Lukaku in front of him if you had him or Haaland? Who would you put in front?
Well, we know the answer is going to be Haaland.
So, the better the quality. If you put Kevin De Bruyne in the same team as Harry Kane, do you think Harry Kane would continue to be?
Harry Kane drops in deep as well, so he's going to be taking up a lot of space from Kevin De Bruyne, unless Kevin De Bruyne goes wide. It's kind of like what we're seeing now with Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane. They're not working as well as they can be because they're taking up the same space. And Foden dragging himself into that as well. Sorry for our listeners, we like talking about England a lot, as you can see. We're meant to be talking about Belgium, but with Belgium, what worked well was Hazard spreading the play. You had Thorgan Hazard spreading the play.
Mm-hmm.
You've got these young players like Luka Bakio, you've got Bakayoko,
Doku.
You've got Doku, who's like Beetlejuice, I couldn't care less about Doku. And you've got another player called... Not Trossard, you've got the other one who's there. Lois Openda. Lois Openda would be a great player to start as a number 9 who actually stretches the play from a number 9 position. Fantastic for RB Leipzig this season. I've loved watching him play, especially in the Champions League. But if you then take out Lukaku, do you then have to rely more upon Kevin De Bruyne? For me, you have to. But Kevin De Bruyne should be relied upon every single game for Belgium.
Yeah.
Belgian fans are frustrated with him. They really want to see the best of him, but they can't.
So what we're saying is, it's not that he's not a bad player. Obviously, he's a world-class player.
Absolutely not.
It's just that he hasn't shown the same quality when needed for his country.
It's Gerrard for England. It's Lampard for England.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It's one of those things where we want to see the best of Kevin De Bruyne. We want to see him shine, but we'll see glimmers of it against like a Mino in a World Cup group stage. We won't see it in a top-of-the-table clash of, let's say, Belgium versus England, for example. He was great in that third round game. No, the third place game that we played. But that didn't mean anything.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
Getting a bronze medal at the World Cup didn't mean anything at all. But yeah, Kevin De Bruyne has a lot to prove for Belgium. This may be his last Euros as well. The fact that he publicly complained about his team being too old at the World Cup in Qatar, that was embarrassing.
It wasn't
very
grace.
childish from him as well. But agree or disagree with our conversation about top 5 midfielders to watch at the European Championship? If you would disagree, comment below. We'll see you next time.